Welcome. You are about to dive into a teaching provided by Women's Prosperity Network as part of their Wow Wednesday series. This is your midweek boost of motivation, education, and inspiration to keep you in consistent action and intention in achieving your goals and your vision. For more information about Women's Prosperity Network and their coaching programs, live events, and mastermind workshops, go to womensprosperitynetwork.com. And now, on to your teaching.
And welcome, my friends, to another wonderful, wacky, and wild Wow Wednesday. I am your host today, Nancy Matthews, and I'm one of the three founders of Women's Prosperity Network, which is myself and my two sisters, Trish Carr and Susan Winner. And this Wow Wednesday has been brought to you every single Wednesday morning for the past 11 years. And we thank you for showing up, for sharing about this opportunity that we've created for people to get this midweek boost of motivation, education, and inspiration. And this morning, I actually have the opportunity of introducing you to someone who really has been part of my family almost as long as my two sisters have. Our guest this morning, Karen Wright, and I met when we were just little kids. I think like 4 or 5 years old is when we first became friends. And here we are many decades later, still traveling this amazing road and life experience. And it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to the brilliant, the loving, and the awesome Karen Wright. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Yeah, I think we met when we were younger, actually.
Well, I guess my memory doesn't go back that far.
Yeah. It's been a long time. An amazing long time.
Amazing, beautiful journey. And let's talk about entrepreneurship just for a moment before we dive into today's conversation, because Karen and I started our entrepreneurial endeavors together when we were like 5 or 6 years old. Do you remember the story, Karen?
Yeah, we made perfume out of flowers in the garden. I think it was roses.
Yes.
And we sold them to our parents.
So that entrepreneurial spirit has been in us a very long time.
And you see, I got that herbal bug.
Yes, you did. I never even put that together before. How perfect is that? So that's a great segue into today's conversation. So Karen is here with us today, and we're going to be having a conversation about tea time, nature's medicine in a cup. And Karen Wright is a licensed nutritionist in New York State, a traditional naturopathic doctor. She holds a master's of science in human nutrition and functional medicine. And after suffering significant physical injuries on 9/11, as she was walking to her office that fateful morning, Karen was sick and bedridden for 2 years. Committed to returning to full functionality and not having to be pill popping for the rest of her life, Karen turned to the study of holistic and natural health remedies, which is where she found her path to healing and now shares that with us. So you are one of my sheroes, Karen, and I love you're welcome. I love the many, many things I love is your commitment to learning and growing, tapping into what's available to us through nature, and then sharing it with others. And it's not always an easy road to do that stuff. So briefly, fill our audience in on what did happen on 9/11 and those ensuing 2 years. Give that background a little bit.
Okay, so I worked in corporate America, Citibank, as a programmer. And that morning, as I was walking to work, the second plane hit one of the buildings. I saw debris flying at me, was knocked down by the debris, came back to consciousness after somebody screamed next to me, and then adrenaline kicked in, and I ran to Stuyvesant, which is where my son was in school, because I knew this was not good.
Mm-hmm.
That day I didn't go to doctors or anything because I knew there were people dying and whatever happened to me was minor. But after, it took a few months, and I don't, now everything is cloudy in that sense, but eventually I was in so much pain I couldn't get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Let me pause for a moment. We'll come back to that, because I remember speaking with you, a day or two after this happened, and you shared with me that you didn't even realize that you were injured until you were in the shower and started feeling on your body the cuts and the debris and all of that. Like your adrenaline, you were all about, what do I need to do to protect myself and my kids?
Exactly. And I had bruises that lasted a really long time, years. It seemed like, they lasted a long time. And there's a spot, like on glass, there's that one spot, if you hit it, it's just going to crack. So I have that on my skin. If there's this one spot, and it was where I know where I got hit, that if it just a tap on it, it was just bruise up. It's just kind of interesting that the body got that weak little, my Achilles spot on my body.
Mm-hmm.
But I went from doctor to doctor, and I was told toxins can't make you sick. I was post-traumatic syndrome, and it was in my head, and then finally, and that was conventional doctors. I finally started going to the non-conventional route, and a lot of it was being underground. You had to hear about them from word of mouth, and it still is kind of like that. The more non-conventional doctors are kind of word to mouth than out in the open, and I found some doctors that helped me, and then I started doing research on my own, and eventually got out of the pain and was able to work again. And then I had to make a decision whether I went back to corporate or used this as an opportunity to help others, because I really feel there's so many people that can be helped with this information, but it's not available. And so that was my gift in a way to other people, is to share that. And there's so much that we can do with food, with herbs, with movement that is really undertapped in this culture. And now absolutely. with this pandemic, it's even more obvious that we need something. And that's,
there's lots of, obviously there's been a major focus on boosting our immune system and what do we need to do to protect ourselves from what's out there. So let's dive in to some of the tips and ways you have for us to take care of our bodies more naturally. And Karen calls this tea time because she's got a video series where she shares, different, just sit and relax and let me share with you some ways that you can really improve your life a lot easier and less expensive than you may think. So let's keep that in mind. These natural ways can be much less expensive.
Yeah, so we can start with a cup of tea. And I like herbal teas because they're tasty, and they have also supportive properties in them. So dandelion is a good example of that. So dandelion is good to help with the liver, and we really need the liver functioning, especially nowadays. The liver is where everything passes through. It handles our toxins. So if the liver gets backed up or congested, then we have less ability to get rid of things that are not good for us in the chemical world that we live in. So dandelion, you can have like a dandelion root tea, and that will help just keep the liver flowing nice and smoothly, which is really what we want to always look for, ways to keep the liver happy. And, our culture, which is hooked on coffee, that's not necessarily the best way to keep our body in shape. And people, who are drinking it and addicted to it, it's like looking at, why am I drinking this? What am I lacking in food and nutrients that I'm getting from the coffee, instead of having the nutrients that my body needs? So there's a lot of things that we can do.
All right. Well, I'm going to confess, I am a coffee addict. So if you're saying that it's not necessarily such a good thing for me, I'm open to listening.
Right. So I'm, 1 or 2 cups of coffee. I talk to people all day, and it's like, I have 5 cups of coffee a day. Well, if you're drinking 5 cups of coffee a day to get through the day, then your nutrients in your food are not there. And think of the compounded effect that has over time.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not getting enough protein, we're not getting enough fiber, we're not getting enough healthy fat in the diet. So we're relying on coffee. And then a lot of times with the coffee comes the treat. So it's the little piece of cake, it's a little piece of chocolate. It's not just the coffee anymore. It's the added, so it becomes even more a stress on our body because it's now we have this extra caffeine, which we're whirling around. And now we're adding that extra starch and sugar type food.
Which is also not good. Yeah.
Which is also not good.
Going back to the dandelion root, so that, do you suggest that we have that once a day or once a week? Is there, how do we know our body could use it? And is it, is there such a thing as too much?
Anything there's such a thing as too much. I look at bowel movements. We discuss bowel movements at dinner around here, not mom conversation, but so bowel movements are really important. If you're constipated, that's a sign that there's something wrong going on. The color of your stool tells you something's wrong going on. So I had somebody come to me, and they're like, oh, everything is normal. And then they brought with them a picture of their bowel, and they said, it's normal. Their bowels were yellow. And for them, that was normal. But that is not normal. That tells me there's something going on in the liver. And it ended up, I sent them to a doctor, and they got tested, and they had something major going on in the liver. But because they were looking at it like, oh, this is normal because that's what they saw every day.
Well, it's customary. They just got used to it, yeah.
So the color of our bowels is an indication of what is going on internally. And if we start paying attention to these things, even the urine, if we dehydrate, the urine gets much darker. So if we start paying attention to...
And ladies and gentlemen, who knew what we were going to talk about this morning? And it's part of our bodily function. It's important. And I know for me, when I go to the bathroom during the day, if I see that it's really dark, I go like, oh, I'm not drinking enough water. Like it's a sign.
It is a sign, but we're not paying attention. And one of the things, I've learned in this journey is that our body is a great tool. It communicates with us. It tells us what we need. We just don't speak its language. And when we start paying attention to the language and the messaging it's giving us, then we have the power to change things in our life in terms of our health. So it's really, yeah, go ahead. What
are some, I'm just going to take us back to dandelion, and then we'll go on to some of the other recommendations you have. What's a sign that our liver function may be, not up to par or compromised? What's the message my body would tell me?
Some of it could be digestive upset, like you eat and you get gassy, constipation, even loose stools, something's going on. On blood work, high cholesterol is what I look at. The other thing is diabetes. Now, this, may surprise people, but the pancreas can become an overtaxed organ. So if the liver starts getting sluggish, it can't do its job, the pancreas then takes over for breaking down fat. Now, if the pancreas is doing that, then the pancreas gets tired and it stops regulating sugar as well. So now you have a cascade of events where insulin, sugar gets higher. So when I see people with diabetes, I'm always looking, how can I support the liver as well as the blood sugar? Because we get the liver supported, then things could go back to normal. Now, obviously, there could be other reasons, but that is one thing I look at is what is the blood telling me? And that obviously is not a sign you would have, but your doctor would know.
Right.
And I look at functional blood work, which is very different than what the doctors are looking at. Doctors look at when you get sick. So as soon as your markers are that something's wrong, they'll flag you. I look at functional blood work, which means I'm looking at numbers of what is optimal for a person, what ranges. And then I don't want people going out of the optimal range. I want people in that healthy state, because then we know we function better. And so it's a very different type of philosophy. You know, I'm trying to prevent, whereas the doctors are waiting to get. And that's a mindset in this culture.
It is a mindset in this culture, because I was just, you know, considering that people normally don't take corrective measures until things have gotten, you know, there's something wrong. There's something not good going on. And that's the trigger to say, oh, well, there must be something I need to fix. And that can be costly in terms of, you know, your well-being, your money, your time, all of that. So do you work mostly with people who are in that mode where something has happened, they're going to the doctor, they can't find solutions? Like, how does that all play in compared to, like, I feel pretty good. Does it make sense for me to have a consult with you to see anything that may be indicators that something could happen? Like, is that how it works?
Oh, so it depends. So I have a lot of people who've gone the conventional route, and they're frustrated because they're not getting anywhere. And then they land on my doorstep. They're like, what can we do? And then we start looking. I will go back and look at, you know, as much history as I can and see, is there something underlying that was missed in the tree of what's going on? Of course, at this point, we also have that a lot of them are on pharmaceuticals. And when you start getting into 3 and 4 pharmaceuticals, it's really known you're going to end up with side effects. You know, our body, all these foreign things, our body can't handle without something happening. So when you're on that many medications, you know, it's like, okay, you know, how to deal with it. So that's one school of people. The other is I have a lot of people who they're starting to get older, and they realize their diet is not great, and what can they do now to prevent things going on? They're watching all of a sudden friends are getting sick, and what can they do? And now I have the coronavirus, you know, like people calling me, what can I do to keep my immune system healthy? And that's a big part right now is, you know, how do we keep our immune system healthy so that when we have these pandemics, we are not affected as much, you know, and so that's a big thing, because food plays a huge role in how our health and our well-being. Yeah.
And, you know, the answers are available to us. We've just maybe looking in the wrong places, right? I'm reminded of the song, looking for love in all the wrong places, now looking for wellness or feeling good in all the wrong places.
Right. Yeah, but the issue is, you know, the internet is great and it's not great at the same time, because there is not one diet that fits all. Everybody's biochemistry is different. And because of that, we need personalized nutrition. We don't need to go have this one fad diet. That's not going to work for us, every person. It may work for a few people, and then it won't work for this one. Everybody has their own unique chemistry, and they need their own unique personalized nutrition. And it's in this internet world, everybody is pushing, this works really well, this works really well. And then you'll get the person who doesn't work for. And my concern always is, if it doesn't work, is it going to do harm to that person? Because there are things that if you do the wrong thing, you can actually end up harmed. And I have seen that with people who like go on juice fasting, and then all of a sudden they're really sick. And, you know, it wasn't the right thing for them. It may work great for another person, but for them it wasn't right. And with all this information, it's very hard to filter out what would work for me and what won't work for me.
Well, and, you know, it's interesting you say that, because years ago, I was working with someone to release weight, and I was told to do a detox, juice and vegetable detox. And the juice one, the fruit one, went fine. When it came to the day where I had to do the vegetable stuff, I was like gagging trying to drink this. And I'm like, grow up, Nancy, hold your nose, drink it down, and blah, 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 blah. And then I ended up finding on the internet that if you have thyroid issues, those types of vegetables are not good for your body. So my body was actually telling me, don't drink that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so those are, so certain vegetables are not good for the thyroid raw, cooked. Some people can tolerate
right, and
them,
that's what it was.
And that's the whole thing, is because people don't realize that. And a lot of people are eating things constantly that are just not good for their body.
Well, and because there is so much information out there on the internet, like you said, it's a great thing. And if you don't understand and have the expertise, such as you do, to know which is the right for you and what to consider when doing certain things, then you're kind of a hit or miss, a shot in the dark, which is why I so appreciate, what you're bringing to give us the education and your Tea Time series, which we'll tell everybody about in just a couple minutes. So let's give our listeners, if you can, a couple of other suggestions. So Dandelion Root tea is a good thing to have. What other things can we do to boost our immune system? Understanding everybody's different. So we did have that disclaimer going on.
Right. So vegetables are probably a big thing in the diet. So I am looking for about 3 cups of vegetables a day, and in a rainbow color. So every single color, vegetable and fruit, has different properties to it. And it doesn't have to be difficult. So I like also rotating food, because I find this is, my own thing. Like if we eat the same thing every day, and I did have this, I had somebody who had peanut butter every single day, 3 days for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. And I do this technique called applied kinesiology, and I had them hold peanuts. I didn't even know it. And they held it, and they literally, their knees buckled, and they fell on the floor. And my mouth dropped. And then when we discussed it, I eat it every single day. So when we eat the same food every day, we're not getting all the nutrients our body needs. So therefore, our body eventually is going to say, this is no good for me, because I need other things. And this is what happens. So if we rotate our food, whether you do it seasonally or every 3 days, it's much better, because we don't build up a sensitivity to that food. But eating in a rainbow is really important, because every single colored food has different properties. So it can be really easy. If you have a red apple today, a yellow apple tomorrow, a green apple, you just, even though it's an apple, have had 3 different colors to give you different nutrients. And that's really good for the body, the more color we put in. And also, in certain cultures like Japanese, part of eating is that aesthetic look on the plate with the different colors. If you're eating all white food, it's not very attractive. And when you start stimulating with beautiful colors, we actually stimulate our brain and our palate, and it's just much better for us. So, digestion, if you think about it, starting in that visual, that's the first sense that we get of it, and then we get the taste. So if we have these beautiful meals that are colorful, it will be, it's much better for the body. We're getting nutrients that are going to help us. So rainbow eating, to me, is really important.
Love it. Love it. All right, good. So we've got dandelion root tea, vegetables. Are there some other teas that would be good to add, for certain things going on?
Yeah, so at night, chamomile is nice. Now, this is a big thing, and everybody here may have heard about chamomile tea being soothing, but here's where we need to know body chemistry. If a person is sensitive to ragweed, which would be a fall allergy, then chamomile is in the ragweed family, so that would not be a tea for them. And So again, we need to know, like, the body, what is going on with the body.
Mm-hmm.
Nettle.
So if you drink chamomile tea, and it may be soothing, but it might trigger an allergic reaction in another way. So just pay attention if you're drinking. And it's really about paying attention and listening to the body that you talked about earlier.
Right. And if you know it's a ragweed and you're sensitive to ragweeds, then it's not a tea for you. Nettles is another tea that's really good for you. And
what's it called?
It's nettle. Nettle is it's stinging nettle. If you've ever had it, literally it has little things that stick out from it, points that stick to you. You kind of have to, when you're working with it, you have to put it under water to not get stung. But it is really good, again, for the liver. And in certain cultures, like in Poland, they actually will drink nettle teas, like cold or hot. And that is, really good for overall health. It's good for both male and female health. Very nourishing nutrients. So nettles are good. And now, this time of year, normally I can get them fresh, but now we're in a different mode, so I don't have access to the farmer's market as I would, but it's really nice. And, once you start cooking with that, you can cook with nettle as well. It's kind of like a spinach, as long as you handle it properly. It's really a good treat.
I never heard of it. All right. So keep going, girl, because I'm sure people would like to know other ways to boost their immune system right now.
Okay, so sugar is probably, we all know we should avoid sugar, but I'm really, I know there's a lot of stress eating going on, and with stress eating, we turn to the junk food, but sugar really, a lot of bacteria and viruses love sugar. They feed on them. The bad guys feed on sugar. The good guys, and our good gut bacteria doesn't do well on sugar. So eating sugar is not something we want to do, but what we do want to populate the gut. So fermented foods are a great way to keep the good bacteria in the gut. And there are a lot of different fermented foods we can eat. And obviously it would be ones that agree. So pickles, sauerkraut, miso soup, sourdough bread. So there's a lot of fermentations that we can make, and these will help keep that gut healthy with good bacteria. And that's really important. Our ancestors ate a lot of fermented foods because, remember, there's if you're thinking no refrigeration, so, a lot of that fermentation to help preserve things. It is the original way we preserve food. So getting that in the diet is really good because it helps keep the healthy gut microbiome, which is important.
Excellent. And I just want to share, I was watching one of your tea time videos, and you talked about if you're feeling hungry all the time and craving sugar and craving certain things, that's actually an indication that your body is lacking in something. And by adding more vegetables and or a salad to your diet, it will actually curb those cravings. So I played with that, and it worked. I'm very grateful because I found myself going to the sweets a lot. I definitely did. And then I watched your video, and I was like, all right, let me try that. I'll start eating a salad a day, make sure I have a salad every day. And I found I wasn't having that afternoon craving for a sweet, and it was really helpful.
So this is part of our communication, which we lose at some point. Animals have that extinct. I don't know if you've ever seen in the wild an animal, if they're having a stomach ache, will just walk up to the plant, eat it, and get sick, and they'll be done. They know. Instinctively, they know. As babies, I've worked with some babies, and if it's not good, they'll push it away. And we as adults will hand it back, and they'll keep pushing away, and eventually their will goes, and they start eating, even though it's bad for them. So part of the communication that we no longer have with our bodies is it's saying, hey, I need something, and we interpret it as sugar. But more than likely, it's vitamins and minerals that are lacking in the diet. And when we have all the vitamins and minerals we need in the diet and protein, fat, the body will stop signaling because it's happy, it's satisfied. But if we're devoid and missing something, the body's just going to keep, hey, I need something, I need something. It's just going to keep knocking until it gets what it's looking for. And once we start giving what it's looking for, you know, then we're much more satisfied. I have people all the time say, I'm eating more food now, and I'm losing weight, and I'm happier. So,
well, that's a good combination.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, so you're thinking, you know, eating less and depriving, but it's eating the right food and getting all those nutrients. And that's really...
And I think what you're sharing today are things that we've all heard, but it can actually cause a little bit of white noise. Yeah, we've heard it before, so we stop paying attention to it. So today, every single person listening in, this is your opportunity to tune back into your body, and let's follow what your body's asking you for by learning the signs. And
that, it's not only us, it's part of the culture, because we've become a culture that brings our body to the doctor when we're sick. And I'm literally saying it that way on purpose, because it's, here, doctor, fix me. And we're not a part of it. So it's almost like this body is not a part of me, and we're not looking at it like, how can I help this body? We only have one body, so the way we treat it is really important. But if we're going to seek outside help for stuff that we've created, and eating poorly is stuff we've created and can change, then, you know, we're not owning our bodies at all. And that's part of this culture is, oh, I'm sick, I go bring my body to a doctor. It used to be, you know, you were at home and grandma made her soup or whatever. You know, if you have elderly parents or grandparents and you talk to them about things that they had when they were sick, it was very different. Now it's as soon as you sniffle, you go to the doctor, you get something. So that makes us much more distanced from our own bodies.
Well, we are at the halfway point, my friend, so I want to make sure that we give people an opportunity to ask questions of Karen Wright and any insights or ahas. So let me turn on the queue. Give me just a moment. All right, go ahead and hit *6 on your phone for questions, comments for Karen. Hit *6 on your phone, and then it'll prompt you to hit the number 1 so you can get in queue. So hit *6, then the number 1. And Karen, let's let everybody know about your Tea Time series. And that you can go to, so jot this down, teatimewithkaren.com. teatimewithkaren.com. And she's curated a series of videos totally free. So just go to teatimewithkaren.com to get more insights on how you can best serve your body to be at its optimal. Anything you want to add to that before I start opening up for questions, my friend?
No, I mean, tea time is great. There's small tidbits, because what I find is our attention span is small. So they're not, you know, it's 3 minutes, no more than 5. Nothing is over 5. So I want to keep it so small doses of inspiration in a teacup that we can go with, you know, very quickly and not be overwhelmed. Because I think when it gets too long, we start shutting down. So it's small bite sizes.
Well, well, and it gives us an opportunity to say, okay, I watched the one about hunger, and I was like, oh, I can do that. But if I tried to do hunger and dandelion and chamomile and nettles, if I tried to take all that in at once, making that much change, yeah, I might have resistance too. And that's human, you know, the way our subconscious works. So, yeah, I love that there are these little teacups, little mini teacups, like when we were kids, right? We had those little plate sets or teacups, just little tiny doses of tea. So go to teatimewithkaren.com. And the phone lines, or whatever kind of lines these are lit up. So let me go ahead and get us started. Good morning. Your line is open.
Hi. This is Sherry, and I'm so grateful for the meeting and for your being here. I love this topic. I try to follow this, and I have for many years. But, you know, what I was wondering, because I have had also a lot of issues with eating disorders in my life, and I over detoxified because I liked how I felt. But it saved my life. And what I'm wanting to do is find out, do you create like meal plans for, let's say, like I'm a blood type A, and I know there are certain foods I'm allergic to. Do you have a way long distance that you can, I want to say douse, or like some people use Zyto machines, or what do you do when someone's long distance? How do you handle that?
Okay, so like I said, I look at blood work functionally. I do have Zoom, so I can make calls that way. In terms of the diet for blood type, there's no scientific evidence that works. And what I have seen with those diets, it works because you're eating more vegetables and fruits, but it's not necessarily a diet that's good for you. And I know for my own blood type, the foods they say I can eat, I'm actually allergic to, and so are other members of my family who also have the same blood type as I do. So it's not necessary, but any time we eat better and incorporate healthier foods in the diet, we're going to feel better. And I think that's part of how these diets are working, but we have to really be careful because that scientifically it hasn't been proven, and we want to do something that works for our body, and that might not necessarily be what's right for your body.
Yeah, so Karen, that was a great question, and I love the bird in the background. It's beautiful.
On my bike.
Karen, I love it. So how does somebody work with you along these lines? Because obviously we shared about the teatimewithkaren.com free video series, but if somebody wants to work with you directly, what does that look like?
Yes, so we would go through a whole history. I do a functional timeline because I want to see what was going on, because sometimes what's presenting now is something that occurred way back, and we want to figure out where things went awry and what was going on. And then, you know, I look at diet, I look at lifestyle. I'm very conscious of what works for a person. And this is something I incorporate, because if I tell you to do something and it's not going to work in your lifestyle, it's not going to work. So, you know, I'm always trying to fit the pieces of the puzzle together to something that you can feel that you're accomplishing something. And that's very different. I'm not going to say, oh, you have to eat this and no, if this doesn't work in your lifestyle, let's figure out how we can get it within your lifestyle. And
beautiful.
That is very different.
How do they get in touch with you?
So they can call me at 917-566-5831.
I'll say that again slower.
Yeah. Thank you.
The phone number for Karen is 917-566-5831. And how about your email?
And I was going to do that. It's Karen at healthright.info. And it's my last name, WRIGHT.
All right, beautiful.
At what?
.info. So Karen at healthright, which is WRIGHT.info. Karen at healthright.info.
Thank you.
Great question. Yeah, great question. Thank you so much. And thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
All right. Let me go ahead and I'll go to our next caller. Good morning. Your line is open.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I have two questions for Karen. Well, one is just a statement. I met Karen a few months ago, and I was at a coffee bar, and I don't really drink coffee. And I said something. I can't remember what I said, but she tuned into me so quickly. I felt it. I feel energy. And I was like, what did you find out about me? What is it? And we never talked about it. But I knew right away that she was intuitive. And I heard you say that you use applied kinesiology. And I think that's really, really interesting that you can focus in on the person, the individual, and help them with their issues. So I am a witness that really does work. Now, the question I have is around sleeping. So I have some bouts with depression in the past, and I pay attention to my need for more and more sleep. But what I found probably in the last year, I'm in bed a lot, but I'm not sleeping. I may sleep an hour and a half, and I wake up. And I wake up, I'm awake. And then I go back to sleep because I'm really tired, but I cannot sleep. And I'm against medication. I have tried teas, and they don't sit well on my stomach at night, just the ones I've tried anyway. I do drink moringa in the mornings to help with my blood pressure, but I just can't seem to find a way to sleep. And the other side of that is you talked about vegetables and your body naturally pushing them away. Well, I've always pushed more away than I've wanted. I love green vegetables, and I eat a lot of kale and kohlrabi and things like that. But the colors, I really don't want them.
Good questions. Good questions.
Okay, so sleep is a big issue with people, and just something for you to try is try exercising for 5 minutes before you go to bed, and see if that helps. It's just very simple. Just do 5 minutes of an exercise and see if that helps. If that doesn't, I suggest you going to a doctor, getting your blood work done, see how your cortisol is. Because what we're looking at is if your cortisol is too high at night, you're not going to get sleep, and we want to bring it down. Now, if you are sleeping, do not exercise 5 minutes before night. Exercise before you go to bed, because that will wake you up. But here we're doing something else. We're trying to quiet down the body and just a little bit of exercise. So
is that like 5 sit-ups? What kind, does it matter?
I was going to say, go up and down the stairs.
A 5-minute dance break.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
me
too.
Happy music, cheerful music, and do a 5-minute dance break. If your mind is like thinking about the bills that need to be paid and that you didn't do this for work and that, one is writing it down. Get a journal and write down everything that you need to do, because when we write down, it quiets the brain. Like, okay, we've taken care of that.
I do journal at night. I do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And honestly, it's not something on my mind. I go to sleep and I wake up.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So try the few minutes exercise, see if that makes a difference. The other thing is if your mind was racing, passion tea. Passion is known for the mind that doesn't keep quiet. And then I would, again, look at things in the morning. Like you have your moringa. I would do some little lemon water in the morning. See if we can start flushing the liver a little bit and see if that's part of what's going on. So, it's always looking at all the pieces of the puzzle. And when this happens, a lot of premenopausal, postmenopausal have sleeping issues. And that could be, our hormones are changing and things are going on. But, it's really looking at what is going on for you. Everybody is different. And in terms of colors, there's so many different colored fruits and vegetables. I bet you we could find some other colors that you don't feel an aversion to. It's just looking and, looking at each.
I love
one
beets. I love beets. They're purple.
I find you to be strange because I will not eat a beet. But I just want to ask about one more tea. I can't think of the name of it. Hibiscus. Now, I do love hibiscus tea, and I think it's because of the color. I just love the way it tastes and everything, even without anything in it. And I wonder if you know much about hibiscus tea, and then I will go away and let other people ask questions. Thank you so much.
So hibiscus tea is very hydrating. It's also high in vitamin C, so it is a good tea to have. I tend to like that more during the day than at night, just as a hydrating type of tea. Mm-hmm. So it is
for your
high
body
in the vitamin C. Yeah, and I know there's some places where when it's really hot, they use that for the hydration. So it's a nice tea to have. And hydration, hydration is really huge. And getting enough water in the body is really important. And most people are dehydrated, so that it would be one good step. And you could become hydrated from water, from fruits and vegetables. It doesn't always have to just be plain water. In coastal areas of the right, which is good, but areas of the world where you don't have water sources, they're relying on fruits and vegetables. Gourds are eaten a lot in some of the island countries where you can't get fresh water. So don't always think water. It could be other things, but obviously it's getting them in the body and keeping hydrated.
So great. Thank you, Karen.
You're
Fantastic. All right, excellent. Thank you, Simone. Great questions, and I'm sure helped others as well. Excuse me. And let's go ahead and I'll give you the information to get in touch with Karen once again. We have a lot of people in queue, and I suspect we're not going to get to everyone, so I want to make sure you can reach out to her. So her email is karen@healthright.info, and it's WRIGHT. And give your phone number again, Karen.
917-566-5831.
Perfect. And go to teatimewithkaren.com. All right, next person in queue. Good morning. Your line is open. I think this is Judith. Or maybe it's not. Judith, is that you? Going once, going twice.
Can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me?
Now I can, yes.
Sorry, I had myself muted because the dog was barking in the background. Anyway, thank you, Karen. Yes, thank you, Karen, for all the wonderful information. I do have a question. As far as where, because you're up in New York, correct? If we wanted to, if I would want to do a profile of the blood work and things, where would you recommend to go get that? Because in some places with providers, it can be difficult to have that profile, and they get a little weird if you tell them I'm sending it to a naturopath or something.
Yeah, no. So what I do, if you contact me, I do have a list of recommended blood work.
Okay.
And then I give you the list. I don't get into an argument with anybody. I just say, this is what I want done. And ask them to do it. If they don't do something, we can always work around. The big important thing, you must be fasting. You can drink water, but it should be fasting. So first thing in the morning, get the blood work. The numbers are not accurate when we don't do them when we're fasting. And doctors will often do non-fasting blood work, but they're not as accurate. So drink water, no food.
Okay. And how long before the blood work should you be fasting on water only?
This is why I say do it in the morning. So you go to sleep, and then drink water in the morning. We don't want to not drink water because we want to be hydrated.
Right.
So definitely go in, first thing in the morning when you're done sleeping, and then you'll be fine, and they'll be accurate. So that's a great question.
All right. Thank you so much. I will be in contact with you.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Great questions. And I'll give you that info one more time. So you go to teatimewithkaren.com. Email is Karen@healthright, WRIGHT.info. And the phone number is 917-566-5831. And you're doing a lot of telehealth coaching and nutrition. You're doing all of that right now.
Correct.
Awesome. All right. Next caller is Vicki. Good morning. Your line is open.
Yes, this is Vicki. And
Hi,
I have it's okay. I'm kind of a half nut, so you don't have to even tell me anything about this because the first time of the pandemic I was at the vitamin store, herbs galore. The question I have is about when you're formulating teas, and I'm going to ask you the four all together, and you can just ask them as needed there. Blending formulations, especially when you kind of get into like dandelion tea, a lot of it does not have really a pleasant taste, which is going to be number two. And when I'm trying to kind of invite other people to kind of join in with it, taste is always the big thing. I don't like the way that tastes. The other one, is there a universal tea that could just work for everybody for just a general health to do? I know there's so many different types of teas. And is there a general, I'm not a naturopathic or anything like that, but is there like a 5-point questionnaire or something that you can give to people to spark it? Because, you know, some people need it, but they're just not going to go the long haul with it. Try it, don't like it, not going to do it. So are there some general questions that you can ask short that might spark their interest to at least try to
my suggestion would be the free video series that she has, that free teatimewithkaren.com.
Okay.
That might be a nice, easy way because it's small little pieces. Do I like this? Oh, I could try that. So just a little bit at a time, I think, is what you were talking about. And that's exactly what the Tea Time with Karen video series is all about.
Okay. All right. Very good.
And Karen, you may have something else you want to add.
Yes. So in terms of teas, not all teas, are going to work for everybody. You can, there are more kid-friendly type herbs like elderberry that, more people can have. Again, somebody you'll find allergic. So part of it is really looking at the taste of the teas. When I'm working, I look at the taste combination, and we always want to do it in balance. So you'll add some sweet, a little sweet to the mix of the more bitter type teas. So it's balanced. But the big thing when you're working with people is setting up expectations. And that's something, in this culture, we want fast snaps. So if I tell somebody, you'll feel better in a week, they expect to feel better in a week. And I can't really promise them that. So usually when I'm working with people, it's like, it took you a long time to get here. It's going to take you a long time to unravel and get out of here. So we have to set up the expectation in the beginning. The same thing with taste the tea. This tea may not taste that great, but it's going to help you with da-da-da-da-da, and now I've set up the expectation. So if I know ahead of time it's not going to be the best, but it's going to help me, then I'm more willing to try it. If the expectation is there that it's not a long haul and it's going to be quick, then I'm going to get frustrated when the reality is it takes a long time. So it's really important always to set the person up so they understand what it is, and it's not a snap finger, we're done.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Well, awesome. Great stuff. Thank you so much for being with us today. All right. Next caller. Good morning. Your line is open.
Hey there. It's Jamila.
Hello.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much. I am in North Carolina, and I teach mindfulness, and I knew something wasn't right. I knew I didn't have the corona, but I knew something, my body was like, ew. So I did go to the doctor after like a month of having this kind of ailment, like aches and pains all over my body. When I went there, I specifically asked them to test my liver, to test my sugar, to test kidneys, you know, all that stuff, and I went fasted. He called me back and he said, oh, you're perfectly fine. You just have a virus. But something still tells me it's not perfectly fine. So my question to you would be, I mean, I'm definitely going to be calling you because I would love to know, you know, I feel like sometimes modern medicine or Eastern medicine hasn't really given me the answers. It's only when I lean into, you know, the within that kind of tells me. So my question to you is, if I feel like it's either liver or gut or something, what could I take or what would I drink if I am allergic to ragweed and the allergies of this era or this time?
Right. Yeah, so liver, so the first thing, liver, the lemon water in the morning is really a simple thing for the liver. Reading food labels is going to be really important. And I mean, not only food labels, if you're buying supplements, reading supplement labels. The liver is not very happy with all these preservatives that we have in food. And supplements are just as bad as having preservatives as you start reading. So we want to, obviously it's best to eat at home and have home-cooked food, but that's not always possible. So start reading labels and see. When there are long names that you can't pronounce, probably it's not good for you in the food. So start, you know, getting rid of that. Bitters. The liver loves bitters. So kale, dandelion, arugula. So anything bitter is really good for the liver. When our taste receptors, when they taste bitter, it's a signal for the liver to start working. It's like its wake-up call. So if we get more bitters in the diet, then the liver can start doing, you know, its work. So that, you know, is one thing. If it's really stagnant, I look at milk thistle. And I have found with allergies. But milk thistle tea does not work. That would be in a supplement or capsule.
And it's funny because I actually took milk thistle for like a week when I was kind of feeling yucky, thinking that I needed to detox. What are the levels in the liver? Because he said it was fine, but is there something? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I don't want to get into chemistry numbers now, but if you contact me and have your blood work, then I can look at it and we can review it together, and I can show you exactly, you know, what is going on, because he's looking for 6 states, and it may still be there too. I have had people who've had numbers that are out of whack, and it's even flagged, and the doctor said, oh, everything's fine. And it's like, no, not everything is fine. Why aren't you paying attention to this? And so for them, everything is fine if maybe there's one number high and everything else is good. But that tells you there's something under the hood going on still. Gotcha. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. Cannot wait. And awesome. I did want to ask, this was before you started recording. You were asking us to go to a TV show. Will you be posting that later on so we know what to look at? A gentleman was on there.
Oh, yeah. So he'll be posting that. If you connect with me on Facebook, Nancy Matthews Speaker, as soon as he's got all the information on it ready, it'll be on my Facebook page. Wonderful. Thank you again, Nancy. Awesome. You're welcome. So glad you were with us. Great job looking beyond just accepting, oh, you're fine. Like, good for you. Good for you. Knowing your body and listening. Thank you. You're welcome. All right. Well, my friend, we blew through this conversation, and I'm sure we could go on for a very long time. I thank you for being in my life. I thank you for bringing so much value to our community this morning. I encourage everyone, go to, if the only thing you do is get this free video series, go to teatimewithkaren.com for this free video series, and you can reach out to work directly with Karen. by emailing Karen at healthright.info, and it's WRIGHT, or reach her by phone at area code 917-566-5831. And my friend Karen, any final suggestions or thoughts to share with the audience?
I'm trying. So what, we talked about food and all that. The other thing is exercise, so movement. So make sure we're moving. And that's not only good for our brain, it's good for our body. So keep moving and keep healthy, keep safe, and just just look at the world and look at the goodness in the world always. And when we look for the goodness, it helps us with our health. If we're looking for the badness, it doesn't. But look for the goodness. Find the flowers outside. If you're quarantined, find something that makes you happy and keep that with you always, something that makes you happy, because that's really important part of our health. And laughing. Keep on laughing.
Yes. And Bruce Springsteen.
Music is always good, yes.
All right, everybody. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And thank you all for being with us. Be sure to check your email and text from us. Friday we're doing something special together. And have an amazing, wow day. Bye, Karen. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.